Angelina. Grand Rising, Grand Rising. How you doing, everybody? This is your Coach Renz. I am getting started today. We're doing an evening one. Can you throw me my bottle of water, please? You got a little bottle down. Yeah, but that requires me getting all the way up and going all the way over there. I'm trapped. No, I can't come down. I'm trapped. Oh no, wait a minute. Wait. We're gonna do an evening show today. Doing an evening show. Come over down. There you go. Good throw. Good throw. Good toss. Good toss. All right. I feel like I'm the little guy who in his mama's basement or something down here. But we're gonna have a good little evening show tonight. Go for about 2 hours. You know, see how the evening time goes. See if we make this a constant thing. Normally we do our show in the mornings. Go ahead and let you know tomorrow morning we're probably not going to start till about 1:30. Got to take my mother to a doctor's appointment, so I'm going to start late tomorrow, around 1 o'clock. I'm owner of a cigar company, so I will have my cigar. Let me know when you come on who you are. Give me about 5 minutes, let people get on. This cigar is called a Nasty Frida. It's very, very smoky. It's one of Angelina's favorite. I'd probably say it's Angelina's favorite cigar. One reason is because it's incredibly smoky. And it makes good pictures for people who are into cigars. They would understand. They understand the thought process of that. But I got my coffee ready. Got the cigar. Ready to get started. Grand Rising Michelle, how you doing? Gonna see how many of the regulars from the daytime will be able to be here on the nighttime. Cause you know the nighttime is the right time. Y'all know I cannot sing, so you know when you get older, you stop caring about things like that. Grand Rising Michael, how you doing? Sheila B, how you doing? Grand Rising. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I got to see my goddaughter. Haven't seen her in a decade, probably almost a decade. So it was great to see her. Good. All right. Glad to hear it, Michael. Madidra, Grand Rising. I almost forgot that today I was doing it at 7:30. So I almost got started earlier today at around 10:45. Yeah, we had a good trip. Made some financial decisions on that trip of how we can get ready and start promoting our new channel, which is called Eat Sip Love. Eat Sip Smoke and Travel. So we did some good masterminding on that, some good decision making on how we're going to start producing that channel. So please, on Facebook, go ahead and like the channel, Eat Sip Smoke and Travel. Eat Sip and Smoke Travel. Good Lord. Grand Rising April. Yeah, it'll be cigars on that one, but it's not a cigar channel so much as my Smoking Phoenix channel. It is a channel that is going to be based on Angelina's amazing ability to cook, our reviewing of restaurants, our sipping of wines and spirits, and going to different, traveling to different places, by car, by later on by RV, flying out to places, going to some historical sites and seeing historical things about a city. Right, just a whole nother side of me, and you get to get to know Angelina a bit, and just just having fun, just enjoying life. So it'll be just something her and I can do together. Of course, on my cigar channel, which is Smoking Phoenix, that's different. Smoking Phoenix Cigars, that's purely a cigar channel. Yeah, but the smoking is it will be just cigars. I don't smoke anything else. And Angelina smokes cigars as well. So, but we'll be doing restaurant reviews, all kind of things like that. Like I'm telling you, I got started like about 8-9 minutes late because Angelina came home, Smoking Phoenix. She came home and made a spinach cheese tortellini soup. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. I posted a picture of it on the page. It's Smoking Phoenix. Easier for me to just type it out. Sheila, Grand Rising, Debbie, Ramses. Yeah, we'll do. King Center be interesting. We'll definitely do a lot of Atlanta stuff. Ramses, he's got to invite me down to see the baby now. But that page called So I appreciate if you guys go out and like that page as well. Eat, Sip, and Smoke Travels. If you're interested in those kind of things. Okay, I got you, Sheila. Yeah. Get them bikers. I know a lot of bikers smoke the sweet cigars. I always find that funny. Good. Invite me on the weekend. Come down and see the new baby. So. But yeah, it has been an interesting couple of weeks. Had to be there for my guy Kevin for his baby that was born, and last week, and then while we was away, stopped in Charlotte to see my goddaughter, and Ramsey got a baby. Go down there, got to see that little baby. Yeah, eat, sip, and smoke travel. And yeah, and then the Smoking Phoenix. So today's show was inspired, and I was trying to give it a little time and hoping he would come on before I said it because I want to make sure he verifies it. Today's show was inspired by Dwayne Howard. Y'all have seen Dwayne Howard on the channel. He's constantly, he's a commenter, which I appreciate everybody who shares the channel, comment on the channel. It helps the algorithm. So Dwayne Howard. So while we were in, and I told him I was going to talk about him. So I don't talk behind people's back. And it was an interesting part of the conversation. But he came down to Wilmington and hung out with me for a couple of hours at a cigar lounge, at Rocco's Cigar Lounge. So he came down, we hung out, we talked for about 3 hours or so. And, he's not a big cigar smoker, but he came and smoked one with me. Since he's not a big cigar smoker, I got him the Tabac Dulce caramel latte. Ramses know that cigar. That's one of his that he likes. That's actually the one that he always liked. But he smoked the Tabac Dolce. It's a caramel latte flavoring cigar. And, we chopped it up for about 3 hours. And we talked about a whole bunch of stuff. It's not just the stuff that we talk about here. It was just, just conversation. He got to see a different side of me that most people don't get to see. We just chopped it up. But he inspired this today's conversation because we were discussing. He brought up. Well, we were talking about somehow we got into a conversation about how religion is culturally based. But how religion is so culturally based, and how culture drives, how you're driven by culture. I mean, how you're driven by culture and your beliefs, and things that are new to you, things that you cannot explain. How we do the God of the Gaps thing. If you saw the thumbnail for this video, you saw that it had the movie back in the 80s, The Gods Must Be Crazy. But you also would have seen, if you're a Trekkie, like I am, you would have saw the Star Trek Voyager, season 6, episode 16, I believe, or something like that, episode something like that, which was called Blink of an Eye. And they both have a similar message to them. And although there are other Star Trek ones that have a message like that, that Blink of an Eye was the perfect one to coincide with our conversation. Now, I had never seen the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy. I was hoping Dwayne was on here, because I cannot unsee that movie. The movie was stupid. In its totality, the slapstick comedy wasn't funny. It was just dumb. But the basic primer for the movie is what we was talking about. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That concept, that idea of how we create things out of our own imaginations and our own mind. So, I mean, and it took us forever trying to find that movie. It says it's on Disney Plus, but then it says it's not on Disney Plus in your region. Then it said it is on YouTube, but then we couldn't find like a whole movie of it on YouTube. Well, we thought we wasn't finding the whole thing on YouTube. There was a Korean version, and then I finally, in the version that we thought was not it, actually turned out to be the movie, because I was like, that can't be the movie. This don't make sense. But it actually was the movie. But the main driver of the movie was this. You had this tribe in the Kalahari Desert, and they were in Botswana. And that's in Botswana, right? And they were Bushmen, and they lived a very simple life. Very simple life without our today's technology. They didn't live in the cities or anything like that. Still hunter-gatherer, bow and arrow, that sort of thing. They make everything they need. There's no sense of ownership. Like the community shares everything. Everybody uses everything, right? But this plane is flying over. And the guy drinks a Coca-Cola bottle. He throws a Coca-Cola bottle out the window, which is dangerous as hell. But it falls down, and it lands like right in front of him. It doesn't break. So he picks it up, and he thinks that this is something that the gods had sent to him. Right? And so he takes it home, and he's like, it's harder than anything else that they use. He starts figuring out different ways of using it. Oh, I can use it to help with this snake skin. The ladies and other people, I can crack open this coconut looking thing. I can grind, grains and nuts and everything. And so everybody start figuring out all these different uses for it, and they believe it's a blessing from the God. They realize they can make music with it. So it has this whole universal tool feel and effect to it. Yes, stupid. But then people start getting mad. They start fighting over it. They start wanting to own it. They started wanting to have it as a possession. And the guy he's not even the guy in charge of the village or the wise man of the village, right? You remember that movie, Tamara, Grand Rising? And he tries to throw it back to the guys. It doesn't go back. It comes down, hit him, almost hit him, wind up hitting his daughter in the head. He goes and try to bury it so that nobody can find it, because what he realized that thing brought issues into their community. It brought ownership, and with ownership, you start to have greed. Grand Rising Arrow, you start to have greed, and you start to have fights, and people start getting violent where they were otherwise peaceful. So he's talking to his little one of the other people. He's like, I got to get rid of this thing, and I'm gonna take it to the end of the earth. And for them, their mindset, because they don't have this understanding of science and the size of the earth, he said the end of the earth is about 2 days walk, about 20 miles. So he goes on a journey to take it to the ends of the earth, but he winds up meeting people and hunting this guy's. He think he's hunting, but it's this guy's goats. He winds up going to jail, and then this goofy ass archaeologist, or not gemologist, not geographer, not this geologist. This geologist is like, no, this guy can be helpful for me. So he gets him out of jail by hiring him to help him with some stuff that he's doing. And it's a bunch of slapstick, stupid stuff that's going on. Finally, he gets, it's kind of like the movie trying to show that this guy was living a simple life and was happy, and our lives are so complicated and is unhappy. That's actually kind of the main driving point of the movie. It's not so much about the gods, but he mistakenly thought those people were gods at first. And at the end, he throws the bottle off of this huge waterfall, which he thinks is, or cliff that he thinks the ends of the earth. So Dwayne, yes, and how people can take something and think that it is a god when it's just simple technology, and then how that new god thing creates all these disruptions. I understand your point. But as I told him, there was an episode of Star Trek Voyager that actually did a better job of that, of demonstrating that. I know you guys may not. It's on Star Trek Voyager is on Paramount. So, and you got to go to season 6, and the episode is called Blink of an Eye. That one is more accurate to the idea of what people believe in our world, in our understanding. In that episode, there's a planet that's spinning really, really fast. 1 second of our time is 1 day in their time. Sounds familiar? Yeah. 1 day to God is 1,000 years to man. Right? So 1 day is 1 second. So they're watching this civilizations come and go, within an hour. They see so much time go by. But they get caught in a gravity well, and their ship now appears to be this big star. But when it first enters, this guy's doing a fire altar to whatever god they believed at that time frame. And then all of a sudden he puts the fire fruit on there, and the earth shakes and fire fruit fall off the altar. And as soon as that happened, Voyager looks like a star in the sky, a new star, big and bright, and it's shining during the day and the night. And so they name it and give it a god name. Now it's a god, because they believe that all the stars were gods. Not unlike how our ancient ancestors thought that all the stars were gods, that they rose into the skies, and they gave names to all these stars, and they look at astronomical events to see that these are gods, and they look at earth events and say, oh, it's the god is doing this. And so they think Voyager are gods. And a whole religion now is created based on this spaceship being caught in their orbit. And as the centuries go by and they get into medieval times, and then pre-industrial time, and then industrial times, and so on and so forth, of course, as technology, it demonstrated as technology grew, they went away from religion and started recognizing what the sciences were. So first, when it just looked like a star without telescope, oh, it's a star, so it must be a god. Then later on in the medieval time frame, some people start to doubt, but they're still saying it's a god. And one protector is trying to send a message with a hot air balloon kind of contraption to see if he can get them to stop shaking their planet. Right? So you have people, it showed the transition of religious belief, and then of course they get to a time frame where they have telescopes and they recognize this is a ship, and so they know it's not a star, and they develop and try to communicate with them. But having that star up there caused their planet to get into this one world kind of order where they were advancing rapidly because they were inspired by the spaceship. Right? But originally they thought it was a god. And this is what brings me to the title of this video tonight. How our civilizations, our ancestors have done the exact same thing. And we are at the stage when they knew what stars were, what spaceships would be, UFOs, but people still kind of went back and forth. Even in the medieval times, when they really showed people going back and forth, where a guy was like, "You don't believe that it's actually a god," and it was like, "No," but then he wouldn't eat the fire fruit because he still held on to that superstition. We can give you as the science to know these things, but there's that part of you that still holds on to it. Until you get facts. Now, unfortunately, people today can have all the facts and still hold on to some deity, right? All because of another Star Trek episode I watched today in season 1 called Emanations, where people believe that when they die, they will go on to the next emanation, but they had no idea of what was really there. It was all folklore. They lived their whole culture based on it. And there was never any proof. You have to go watch that episode. There was never any proof, but then when Ensign Kim mistakenly gets drawn back to their dimension or planet, now there's doubt. Doubt starts to arise because there's proof. And that's where we are. We have enough proof to doubt these religions. Right? Oh, there you go. There's Dwayne. Dwayne Howard. That's the one who met me, y'all. Mr. Adidas. Dwayne was all decked with his full Adidas on. The jacket, the sweat, the pullover, the shirt, the pants, the shoes. I bet you the socks and the drawers were probably Adidas as well. But they full on Adidas. So, but this is where we are. We know that astronomical events happen not because of miracles. There was no star in the east that was hovering over something, over a house that led the Magi. The horns aren't going to blow and they destroy a whole wall. We know these things to be facts. But yet people still hold on to them. But we're going to talk about how even for a lot of us, we might dispense with gods, but people gravitate toward ancient aliens. Even though we're finding out that there were civilizations prior to the Younger Dryas period, during the entire ice age that led to the Younger Dryas, and that there's been civilizations on Earth for over 2 million years. 2 million years of civilizations at different stages, and some we don't even know. We can estimate that they've been there that long. We know the hominid has been around that long. Of course, 1 million years from now, there's probably nothing from our current civilization that will still be verifiable, unless we leave a satellite in space with information. But as far as earthen material, it's hard. I doubt if the pyramids are going to last 1 million years. They'll probably be gone before 1 million years go by. The Sphinx will be gone. A lot of these things, there are so many things that's buried that we won't know. Quran Tepe has changed the game now. Quran Tepe is saying that that civilization was around building these monuments and had language, had either a pictograph writing, or they haven't figured out all this right. They only excavated 5% of Quran Tepe, but 12,800 years ago. Gobekli Tepe, 10,000 years ago. This predates the Sumerians, predates the Kemetic. So for all those people who's like, oh, the Kemetics were the first. No, the Sumerians were the first. No, they're not. And we have to be willing to accept that. And I don't want to miss anything. As a human, what is our class? What is our exception with having a God? It clearly messes everything up. I agree with parts of that. Our culture is definitely mixed in. I remember that one too. It was good. Oh, it's on my Star Trek problem. But yeah, we have this insane obsession. It's not insane, but we have this obsession that we have to know where everything comes from, how everything started. We're not going to know. Maybe someday we'll be able to penetrate the Earth's crust deep enough to be able to find things that may have been around, uh, so long ago that it's buried 20 miles deep in the earth. And we're able to excavate it. But we are far from that. And because we're far from being able to identify, there are elements in the universe that we don't even know exist yet. So there could be elemental things 20 miles down. We wouldn't even know what to look for. We wouldn't even be able to describe it, find it, figure it out. And that's the hard part with people is saying, I don't know. Your cousin told you that she couldn't accept that she was lied to all her life, and it was too painful to admit. So she doesn't admit that she's been lied to, and stick with Jesus, or are you saying she left but it was hard for her? It's painful when she had to admit it. I'm just curious, Sheila. But now the ancient. So let's take it step by step, each one for each one. When we talk about the God thing, oh, she had to stay with Jesus. Some people can't. It's like the abusive spouse. They have to stay with that abusive spouse. They can know everything is wrong about it, but they have to stay with the abusive spouse. Oh. Now, based on the information that I've been able to gain from Quran Tepe and Gobekli Tepe, and y'all are going to hear me talk more and more about those places, more so than the Anunnaki. Anunnaki only when we get really into this biblical stuff. But as far as the consciousness of man, so there was an ice age that started 20, 30,000 years ago. For 15,000 years of that ice age, civilization existed fine. They figured out how to live within the cold. But then around that 15,000 years ago mark, so count 15,000 years prior. So we're looking at like 35,000 years ago. Then after about 15,000 years from that 35,000, it started getting colder. And a huge spike happened where it got severely cold. And that cold lasted for about 3,000 years until about 12,000 BCE. This time frame is called the Younger Dryas period. Right? So it lasted about 12,000, maybe 11,000 BCE, where you had this severe cold snap. That imagine you're already in an ice age, and then here comes a double up on the ice age. They don't know why currently, to my knowledge, but it happened. Well, during that time, that's when Quran Tepe was built, at the end of that. Well, during that time, around 12,800, sometime around that, during that Younger Dryas freeze, it happened. They built it. They're not sure why they covered up Quran Tepe and Gobekli Tepe. It could have been because the walls kept falling in and it just wasn't a good build. And they could have just said, you know what, this ain't working. We're just going to rebuild somewhere else, which could be where the Sumerians came from. We don't know. That's one of the theories out there. but there were civilizations. But these people believed in animalism. From what we can tell thus far, the majority of things that look ceremonial, that look worshipy, were animal spirits. The same stars that we look at today and they say, oh, this is Capricorn or Aries or something like that. They said that was the jaguar and that one was the vulture. You know, so they took animals, they put animals in the stars, not beings in the stars. So far, and this could change a year from now. I could be saying something totally different about this, but a year from now, it could be different. But right now, it seems like they were more into animal spirits. The leopard was a primary animal that's on their lot. The leopard, scorpions, vultures, foxes are some of the primary animals that they demonstrated a bunch of times. So they looked at the earth and saw the spirit of the earth, and the animals and everything had a spirit. Right? Even though they looked to the stars and put the animals in the stars, everything was more earth-based. Right? Which could suggest whatever civilization before them also look at earth, which may explain why they built with earthen materials, i.e. Stonehenge, even though that was much later, but Stonehenge, the Sphinx, the pyramids, and other places around the world that fit those time frames or further back, and they were built out of earthen materials to last because they understood earth energy. So, but then later, they start developing this God thing. And they started worshiping the stars. And this is when we get more into the Sumerians. They start worshiping the stars, and or that either came about because they worship the stars, or because the ancient aliens want people to believe that some aliens came down. That Enlil and Enki and Anu and Yaharsag, that they all came from the planet X, from Nibiru. This is what they believe. It's not saying that it's true. It's what they believe. That these beings came from another planet because they came from the heavens. If you just went through this period where everything got so frigid, so cold, that it destroyed your civilization, and then it was further destroyed because at the end of the Younger Dryas period, right around 9,000 years ago, 10 to 9,000 years ago, over an incredibly short period of time, like a week, the estimate is that it was a week, a massive heating happened, and the sea level rose by 400 feet. That would have created tidal waves, massive flooding on all the coastal areas, and understand the majority of ancient civilizations were found on coastal areas. All those areas would have been flooded. So I would imagine if we did some serious archaeological research, they do it to however much money can be pumped into the system. Underwater archaeology would probably find more civilizations than what we find on land. Understand that most of the land civilizations that we find were considered inland or hillside. That under the ocean, there's probably a lot more civilizations that we could find when we get that technology to be able to do it. It's just expensive. And then how are you going to make money off of it? Outside of philanthropy. Which is why these things don't happen as much as we would want them to. So what we have at this stage is people begin to tell stories of gods in the sky. After this flood, some deity created the flood. Some deity flooded everything. So now gods start to become part of the narrative. And not only just in the Levant area, I'm talking about it around the world. Because the Aboriginals in Australia starts talking about gods from the sky. the natives in America and Central America, they start talking about gods in the sky. You know, in the Pacific Islanders and all these peoples are now talking about gods from the sky. After this flood, everything became gods in the sky, gods in the sky. And this is where the debate comes in as far as ancient aliens or pre-civilization, pre-advanced, pre-earthen civilizations. And I want you guys to tell me which one makes the most sense, okay, in all that we discussed. So we know the God thing doesn't make sense at all. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. Because just like those two episodes, that episode of Star Trek Voyager, Blink of an Eye, and the movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy, if someone has a greater technology that seems amazing to someone else, they would be considered gods. They can easily cause the people to think that they were gods. So the hurdle is not accepting the Sumerians for exactly what they say, because the Sumerians said they came from another planet. The Hopi Indians say they came from another planet. The Aboriginals, they came from another planet. The Dogons, they came from another planet. All these civilizations, they came from another planet, Now, some people would say that, well, because all of them are saying another planet, that must be the reality of it. But is it really? If I went to a civilization they had never seen an airplane, I would look like I'm coming from the heavens. They may think I'm coming from another planet, coming from the same place that the stars come from. They don't understand the different levels of the atmosphere and space and how far away things are. For them, I'm coming from another planet. And if I wanted to take advantage of that, I would play into it. And yes, I know there are so many similarities between all of them around the world, and that can be explained because each one of them in their stories talk about how they restarted civilization and they went and started other civilizations in other places, and these are relatively the same people telling that same story, right? So, but the grand question becomes, where do they come from? Where does the scholarship, as Paul Martin said in the title video, and the comment on the title video post earlier today, where did they come from? Where does scholarship fit into this? Scholarship doesn't necessarily fit into the aliens thing. The closest habitable Earth-style habitable planet from us is a couple of 100 million light years away. The closest galaxy or star system is, I believe, 420, 480 million light years away. I'm sorry. But unless a civilization, which it is possible, has figured out how to fold space, ain't nobody traveling that far. We're not traveling that far that fast. It's just not going to happen. Because let me make sure I got it. What's the closest planetary star system from Earth? Alpha Centauri. That's what I thought. So it's 4. Oh, I said 400. Sorry, it's 4.2 to 4.4 light years away. All right. So even traveling at the speed of light, it would take 4.5 years to go from point A to point B. And that's just a start. So that's a star. So first, you got to be able to travel at the speed of light. Now, if you're traveling at the speed of light, space is not empty. They used to say that space was empty. Grand Rising coming. But space is not empty. Space has matter. Space has asteroids, micro asteroids, and it's just there's a thickness to it. If a vehicle is traveling at that rate of speed, it's going to create friction. So unless there's some type of deflector system, I'm using Star Trek knowledge and Star Trek technology, not saying that any of it exists and it's the right thought process, because I know they make up some technology as well. You would have to have some type of deflector array to keep the heat down just from moving that fast, and then from all the meteorites of various sizes, all the other spatial anomalies out there, dark matter, black holes, all these different things that you may encounter on such a trip, and have a computer system fast enough to correct navigation at those speeds. You got to have somehow dampen the inertia that would create. It always cracked me up, when they go into warp speed, I was like, all of a sudden they go and just take off, but they have some type of inertial dampers that don't just smash everybody to the back into a big bloody puddle, right? So you got to have something to keep, because those laws keep that from happening, because those laws of physics are still going to be applied, which is why many people will talk about folding space, going through a wormhole, which is a black hole that leads from one end to one space to another, and allows you to travel great distances. But we don't know what's inside of those things. We don't know what kind of like radiations and gravimetric pressures and things like that, or elements and forces that we don't even know about that's going on in those things. No, and for what we know of a black hole, it's not really a hole. It's a mass in the center of it that is so dense and has such a strong gravity that it pulls everything into it, which gives it the appearance of being a black hole in space, but it's actually some dense ass matter in there, which if you are able to survive going in it, you're going to crash into it and become part of that matter that increases the density of the matter and the strength of the gravity well, and pull more and more things in it until the energy gets too much and it combustions out. And then that creates a singularity that starts to form new, gases and planets and stars and all the other shit that creates universal material. So, not saying that it's impossible, but that would have to be the situation. Grand Rising Trump. That would have to be the situation. Side note, Trauma, the video that you sent me, I can't speak on it. That's all I can say about that. Can't speak on it. But certainly not publicly. I'm not going to speak on it. But all I can say is somebody broke the hell out of some rules on that one. But so anyway, aliens come from another planet. We know they're not come from our solar system. And the closest solar system to us is 4.2, 4.4 light years away. So what's the likelihood of it being aliens traveling this far? And for what? For gold? According to the Anunnaki story? For gold? I'm sure there's gold. There is gold on other planets in our solar system. So it would be a more reasonable thought that in Alpha Centauri that there would be gold closer than coming to Earth. For water, there's water that you can find within our solar system. Let's say Earth ran out of water. We start running out of water, right? We know that there is an ocean on the moon Titan, under the ice of moon Titan, under the ice on the Neptune. Now there's water, right? It's much closer to just go there than to go 4.2 light years away. So just like, and we're not going to get into the whole, I'm not getting into the whole thing about whether we went to the moon or not, but going to the moon and trying to mine it and come and bring that back, just going to our moon is not financially, it's not a financially equitable thing to do. We could get so much, you can get all the titanium, but it's not a good economic thing. It won't make money. It doesn't make sense. And if it don't make money, it ain't gonna make sense. I'm not saying that every civilization is just like ours, but it has to make sense. Even if you were a centralized community that shared everything, the amount of energy put into gaining a resource, the resource has to produce more than what the output is. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. So ancient aliens, what are your thoughts on that? So what's the other theory that has probability? That the earth goes through these cycles of major extinction events. We know that we've had asteroids hit the planet, comets hit the planets, we've had multiple ice ages, so we've had heating and cooling of the earth. Is it more plausible that previous civilizations either destroyed themselves or nature destroyed them? I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a time frame where we was, and we still, actually you're in the time frame now. There are enough nuclear missiles on the planet aimed at the planet to destroy all life on the planet. And when I was little, they used to say 56 times over. I don't know what the number is today. All right. You know what? Next time somebody says something about a flat earth, I'm going to bring that one up, Trauma. If we're in a dome or a snow globe, how do asteroids hit? They're probably going to say the asteroids are inside the dome. Is that why they're trying to go to space to get the gold? They're greedy. I say nature. I say nature the next time it will be us. The thing about it, Sheila B, is that there's enough gold on Earth to maintain what we need gold for. We have false markets. Gold is more rare than diamonds, but the diamond industry is fake. The gold industry, it has a reality, but we have enough gold. Like they say, we can't go back to a gold standard. America has enough gold in its reserves in order to go back to a gold standard if it chose to. It's just industry-wise, a lot of industries will get hurt by going back to that. We're inside a ball, not a dome. So how do the asteroids hit? Well, they may be greedy, but they realize that if you oversaturate a market, then what you hold precious no longer has value. It's just like the diamond industry. Diamonds are plentiful, but De Beers withholds the 90% of diamonds just to keep the industry alive. Grand Rising in NOLA. Like, so since we know that the earth consistently is creating and destroying, is it more plausible that there was some people survived that last ice age and younger dryas period, had greater technologies than others, and then presented themselves as gods to those more primitive people who survived? And we've had examples of that in our lifetime. When they removed people and brought them to the Samoan Islands, they thought the people who removed them, the Red Cross and the Air Force, they thought the Air Force people and the Red Cross people were gods. and began to worship the airplane and those people. For a while, that people on the island, on the Sentinel Islands, worshiped airplanes when they would fly over, and they actually thought that they can shoot an airplane down with a bow and arrow, right? So they went both ways. We know that that can happen today. That there are situations where that can happen today. So 9,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, it is highly possible that if a civilization, say Atlantis, as the island was sinking, those who were able to escape, and they had greater technology, according to the stories, showed up in Kemet, showed up in the Levant, and initiated, told the people they were gods. Matter of fact, a part of the Sumerian story says that the Anunnakis, prior to Anu becoming king, that the Anunnaki people were at war, and that war went to a nuclear war, and they destroyed their planet and needed to fix holes in their ozone. This was their need for gold. If Lemuria existed and Atlantis existed, and just for shits and grins, let's throw the Isle of Mute in there. And if those three continents existed, and those three continents were the more technologically advanced continents, it was theorized that those three nations were at war with each other. If they were at war with each other and got to a point where it became a nuclear war, the planet that needed the gold to fix the ozone layer could have been this planet. And in their warring could have created their own destruction, because if you have a nuclear war and if it's all out, it could heat up the earth in that 6-day period to melt the ice caps, especially, melt the ice age, the Younger Dryas ice, because of the rapid heating of 40, 50, 60 nuclear bombs going off. Or maybe they had some tricobalt bombs or something like that could have heated up the earth and caused their own flooding, and that flooding destroying those three continents. Because by the way the flooding happened, if those three continents existed during that time frame, based on their descriptions, since the majority of the continents were at a lower sea level, all of them would have got flooded out. So they could have created their own demise. And for those who survived, which would have been the hierarchy, the wealthy, the elites, the kings, Anu, came to the more primitive people that did survive and then tell them that they were gods. And just tell them they came from a different planet. How would they verify it? How would somebody who didn't even know what a helicopter was, an aircraft was, the only thing to them that flew were birds, how would they verify it? If I'm coming from like I said earlier, if I'm coming from the clouds, and when you read these stories, they coming down with fire and smoke, sounds like they're using some type of fossil fuel, some type of burning fuel, some combustion. I would think they were aliens. If I was traveling through the galaxy, why aren't we seeing different galaxies with each sunset? If we're traveling through the galaxies, why aren't we seeing different galaxies with each sunset? Because those galaxies, if we're traveling through the galaxy, those galaxies are also moving. It is not like everything is standing still except us. It is not like that. See, that understanding of it would be, you're in a car going down the highway at 80 miles per hour, but everybody else is sitting there, but you have a clear path to go 80 miles per hour. That doesn't happen. That's not the science of that. The Milky Way galaxy, everything is swirling and moving. So as other galaxies are moving. So it would be like we're all on I-75 moving at 80 miles per hour. Some people moving at 90. If it's me, I go 100. I'm moving at 100, which we have seen, and which we have seen galaxies collide with each other. That is something that we have seen. It's different galaxies. You can look that up. Galaxies colliding and mixing. So you're not going to see other galaxies passing by. That doesn't match with science. The ancestors use water or a lake to gauge the movement of the moon and the stars. Clarify that a little bit. I think I know what you mean, but I just want to make sure. Atlantis was insolent. Could be. There are some that theorize that Atlantis tried to create that was Lemuria. Tried to create a fake Merkaba. I don't necessarily go with that one because that one says that they came from Mars, which is possible. Mars could have been in the habitable zone for a while, but then lost its atmosphere as it moved out of the habitable zone. And if there were beings there and they were advanced enough, Earth would have been the most likely place for them to go. Have you seen the sparks from lightning? The sparks fly down from the dome. I've also been in a plane and saw the lightning go sideways and the lightning go up. So how do you explain the lightning going up? And I've seen that with my own eyes. I was amazed. It was my first flight to California. I was about, what? How old was I when I was in California? About 13, 14 years old. And I saw lightning saw a cloud. It was a storm way off, north when we was flying over Texas. And I was just looking out the window, looking at the storm. And I saw lightning. A lightning bolt went down, but it also went up. So it's not coming out of a dome. We were above the clouds, so it went up. They taught Einstein how to make the atom bomb. That's another thing that irritates me about both of those types of situations. Why does every major accomplishment have to be given to either ancient aliens or pre-Earth civilizations? As if we can't create shit on our own. Right? We have ingenuity. We have necessity as the mother of all inventions. Where we find a need, we innovate and we create. As science grows and information is shared and technologies are created, from one technology we create another technology and so on and so forth. So we could have created, they could have come up with the atomic bomb on their own. I've heard that this lightning comes from the ground. Yeah, I've heard people say that one, but never proven, always debunked. Like the temples in Mexico, pyramids are built over lakes and at specific times. Each year and more they line up. So as Tesla proved, and as when you scale back the clock for like the Great Pyramids in Giza, and it fits for the ones in Mexico, these temples were built over aquifers and underwater lakes, water sources. Uh, when you actually look at, especially the Great Pyramid in Giza, it was a power plant. It was not a tomb. Now, some of the ones in Mexico were built for uh, ceremonial things, but most likely a power plant. But that has nothing to do with us being in a dome or a sphere ball. I believe lightning and ricochet off the ground depends on what it hits. There is some new every day. Something new every day discovered is one. Are people pushing drugs over the borders in ways known as scientists as yet? Yeah. Discover the chemistry to it. Man only copies and consumes. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I actually have sat with people who have invented things, know people who have invented things. So no, we don't copy and consume. We can use other technology to create more and more. But as man discovered the microscope and in understanding that, we create more, we invent more stuff. Does lightning come from the ground? It says both. Lightning comes from the sky down, but the part you see comes from the ground up. Well, there you go. Comes from both. Temple of the Pharaoh serpent is a stone blocks are burnt all the way to the middle. They found it similar to the ones in China. What does that burning mean? True, and lightning can come from static electricity. You can make some lightning in this room. You can make some lightning at home. Because that's all it is static electricity, right? Just a huge bulk of it. But I'm not super knowledgeable about everything things as far as lightning is concerned. I know it's beautiful. I like to watch it. Recent studies also indicate that ice, hail, and semi-frozen water drops are essential to lightning development. Storms that fail to produce large quantities of ice usually fail to produce lightning. So I don't see where the heat part is at. They didn't say anything about heat. I mean, I understand that there is heat within the lightning. The lightning produces heat. When these collide, the water droplet freeze and release. They freeze and then release heat. This heat in turn keep the surface of the hail and icy slightly warmer than their. So it's not ultimate heat because it maintains the iciness of the hail, but it's the fact that the lower clouds have a negative charge and the higher clouds have a positive charge, and the Earth has a positive charge. And when you have the ice and the droplets, then that creates the electricity, which then it's attracted to the ground. But that's just a 2-second look. The stars are always in the same spot, though we are spinning. Stars are not always in the same spot. Uh, Stars change. The sky that you look at today is not the same sky that people looked at 200 years ago. The stars move, they change position. We change because the earth is, because everything's moving. So it changed position. There could be a time when the uh, Sirius is not seen anymore by us. There could be a time when the belt of Asar is not seen because the stars aren't in the same spot. If you so like, and one of the things that made me realize that is that some time ago I was researching. I was looking at like the oldest person. I was researching living long lives, right? And there was a guy who was trying to get his father to be the oldest man to ever live, and the Guinness Book wouldn't accept it because they were like they didn't have a birth certificate. But his culture back in those days, they did a sky chart when a child was born. That's how they knew the time. And so looking at the sky chart, they went back and the man would have been 256 years old because that's where those stars were at his longitude and latitude at that time frame of his birth. So, but those stars are not in the same place now. You can run a computer simulation to see where stars were 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, but they were not in the same spot. That's why the alignment of Asar's belt and the star Sirius, Isis's womb, is not the exact same spot it was when the pyramids of Giza were built. They're off. Right, heat comes from the positive and negative charge. Wizard. In your opinion, sir, why do you think these gods not communicate with us now? Oh, so one, I don't think they're gods. Be clear about it. Let me be clear about that. I don't think they're gods. I think the most plausible explanation is that they were the remnants of the last pre-ice age civilization that survived. According to the Sumerian story, they stopped interfering with man because they themselves were creating wars and things of that nature. They went back to their warlike mentality. They were headed back to their world war kind of mentality. And so Anu hatched a plan to make humans kings and queens and create royalty because humans became too numerous on the planet and were outnumbering them. And they had already suffered a lot of rebellions. And so they decided to back off and just rule from pretty much like a shadow government type of situation. Plus, as we gain technology, we would cease to believe in them anyway, as they were gods. Like, there's no way an Anunnaki can show up today and be like, I'm Enlil and I'm Inky, and we like, oh, we're gonna bow down to you. No, we'll shoot that mom. He'll get shot like anybody else. And you can't stop progress. As much as we may try, we can't. You can't stop a civilization from progressing. So the story of the Anunnaki, my apologies for the misspelling, but that story is similar to the Christian story in order to have a way to still serve worship of God. Yes, except the Christian story, the Hebrew story, the Genesis and all that pulls from the Anunnaki. They're copying the Anunnaki story instead of the Israelites. They were not creating the story. They didn't create the story first. They just copied the Anunnaki story, and then they started having their own stories, and they pulled from other civilizations like the Greeks, the Zoroastrians, the Kemetic, the Kushite, and they pulled from everybody else who was around them. Now I just looked it up. It was saying the Earth is positive energy, the lower cloud level is negative energy, and the upper cloud level is positive energy. And this is what has to be in place for the lightning to happen. So, and it could be that that's what it is when it happens, where it happens. Not saying that the whole earth is positive energy. The whole earth may not be one polarity. It could be different polarities in different places. It's kind of like how people try to say, oh, well, Christianity was in Africa because they had it in Egypt. That's just one country, one small piece of a whole continent. It doesn't make the whole thing. Grand Rising Carl. God was created to control people and help form civilization. Control people, yes, but civilization had already been formed before gods came into play. That's one of the things we're seeing that with Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe is that they didn't have gods so far, but they had civilization. But they did believe in spirits. Everything had a spirit. The earth, the trees, the animals had spirits. And people do feel like they have to believe in something bigger than themselves, though. The book of Enoch is omitted from the Bible. It is. Up until about 1,500 years ago is when they started getting rid of the book of Enoch. Abraham is not ripped off from the Brahmins. It's not ripped off from Brahma. Abraham is a ripoff from the Sumerian story of Abram. Right? It's a direct ripoff from Abram in the Sumerian story. It's not a hint. It's not relatable to the Brahmin story, to Brahma. One of the things that we got to be mindful of, just because two names sound the same or seem like they can be connected, they're not necessarily connected. But in the Sumerian story, they have an Abraham. Abraham is the guy that Enlil was like, you're still worshiping me, even though you're in a city that worship this moon god. You worship me, the sun, the storm god, the god of the wind. And so he separated Abram from the people in the city of Ur who worship the Sumerian god Sin, which was a moon god. Saying the earth is neutral. But wherever there's a lightning storm, that portion of the earth is positive, is what I was saying by that. Herbal tea. Thank you. Yep, if you missed the first part, go back and watch the first part. Just skip to about 7-8 minutes into it. That's when we got started. Yeah, most people are Ewoks looking for CP3PO. If you don't know Star Wars, you wouldn't get what Brian W. is saying there. But in that one, the Ewoks thought that C-3PO was a god. And then, what's my man's name? Luke did his little Jedi magic and made him float in the air. So they really believed he was a god because he was able to do something that they thought was like, wow, amazing. Oh, look at that. Think about it like this. If you were able to time travel right now and you were able to take all the books, all the medical journals and biology books and chemistry books and engineering books, and you were able to understand them and you could, and you went back to when people were still using stone tools, and then you start creating steel or iron or copper or bronze and you start creating steel. Let's just stick with steel. You start creating steel and you figure out how to make a gun, and you're able to do medicines, and you're able to take plants and heal people where people would die, but you're healing them and all these sorts of things. You would be considered a god to those people. You figure out how to build an airplane and make it work. You're a god, or witch, yeah. Well, that's why I say go back to when they were doing stone work. And this is where you have to have the weaponry. Like honestly, if I went back in time, one of the first things I want to create is a gun, right? Because because they might think that I'm a witch or a demon or something like that. But then if I start shooting a few of y'all and y'all die, and then I tell you bow down, you're gonna bow down. I'm just being honest about it. That's what's gonna happen. And they will think you're a god. What's Grand Rising, Raquel? I ain't seen you in a minute, man. Yeah, it's been a minute. If Earth was negative, then it would have heat flashes once in a while. Maybe that's what a volcanic eruption is. What is the polarity of a volcanic eruption? I mean, lightning comes out of volcanic eruptions. Is the Earth negative or positive? All right. The Earth is electrically neutral, but the crust is negatively charged, and the interior of the Earth is positively charged. In clouds, we have negative charges over its upper face and positive charges over its lower face. So I got that one in reverse. So Earth's surface and clouds' lower face have opposite charges, and they face each other. So I would imagine if there's an area where the Earth crust, wait a minute. So it was saying the crust is negative, but the interior is positive. So if some of the interior is more exposed than other areas, then that portion of it would be positive. Could be more positive than negative. Because I have seen those experiments where people use some kind of tool and then they just put a little prong in the earth and then they're able to create energy. But I've always seen those as depend upon where you are, and they do different things. No problem. I'm glad you're here right now. But yeah, I've seen people do those kinds of experiments. So, but in order to have a lightning strike, it can't be negative neutral in that spot. That spot has to have an opposing charge to the lightning in order to attract it. That iceberg is moving from Antarctica to aliens, the Antarctica, the aliens. Grand Rising Brian W. I don't know what iceberg you're talking about. Dr. Google is my friend. Iceberg moving from Antarctica. So the world's largest iceberg moved from the Arctic waters. Oh, that was 10 hours ago. Oh, that's interesting. One of the world's largest icebergs is drifting beyond Antarctic waters after it was grounded for 3 decades. Oh, so it broke off. So it was stuck to the ocean floor and remained there since 1986 is when it broke off. And it remained there because it was stuck on the earth, on the floor of the ocean. And it's 3 times the size of New York. That's pretty damn big. That's a whole lot of fresh water. We're gonna bring water to the desert, y'all. Y'all remember Brewster's Millions? with the iceberg. Who remembers Brewster's Million with the iceberg? See who my old people are. I wonder what kind of threat is that going to be as far as if it moves northward. Um, that would be a whole lot. That I don't know if that's enough fresh water to mess up some stuff. How big is it? Let's talk about the size again. Doesn't pose any threat to people, although it may become a problem for wildlife such as penguins and seals if it runs aground in their feeding or breeding areas in the south and the southern sea. They've been having record high temperatures down there. Doesn't say anything right now if it would cause a problem with the salinity of the ocean. Oh, you're saying it's a big spaceship, but it's been sitting there for 30 years. Well, yeah, about 40 years. I don't think we know what the polarity of the Earth core is. Definitely, we haven't been down there. Right, and that's what I mean. It depends on the magnetic field in that area. There's so many different things that could be that play a part in it. Yeah, you saw Bruce's Million. You know, he thought he was gonna lose money on that iceberg, but it wasn't melting as much as they thought. So it wound up making him $30 million. Now, Jose, are you just saying that? Where do you get that it's a spaceship? That it's the ship? I mean, it's been sitting there for damn near 40 years, man, and it ain't done nothing. It was grounded. It took him 40 years to break free. That I would say, see, I would say that's a stretch. Uh, that's where we start to create stuff. That's how our ancestors created gods out of the stars, is through those types of speculations. And why do we want that? Why would we want to do that? We know that the Germans kept going down to Antarctica during World War II, and they would come back, and then all of a sudden they got rockets and they got jets and stuff like that. So was it somebody showing them something in Antarctica, or did their scientists were their scientists just that damn good? You know, and I lean more towards their scientists were just that damn good because Germany poured a lot into technology back then. Just as much as they poured a lot in. Yes, we all know how they poured a lot into finding ancient relics, but they also poured tons of money and time and energy into technology. But the Antarctica thing does make you question some stuff, like why were they going all the way down to Antarctica? What strategic purpose did Antarctica have for them since they were fighting way up in the northern hemisphere? Why they keep going to the southern hemisphere? That is a question that we don't have an answer for. Frankly, I would like an answer for that, but we don't really have it. Well, I don't recall them talking about alien invasions. I know they had the whole Senate hearings and everything on unidentified. Let's call them UFAs now, but the UFOs. But as far as all of that, I'm not. See, that's the thing. We can't give in to speculation of conspiracy theories, although there is the conspiracy theory here and there that does wind up being true. But the overwhelming majority of conspiracy theories turn out to be false. Hold on for a second. Yes, ma'am. How's she gonna open the door like she want to take something, but then she don't say that? And I know she hear me right now. But we can't give in to most of these conspiracy theories. It's what do we know? What can we prove? What do we have the most evidence towards? And most of these things, most of the higher level conspiracy, we don't have enough proof of that. Where's the proof of the alien ships? We ain't got it. Where's the proof of people coming from different planets? We ain't got it. You know? You think that some of those planets that are Earth-like planets, we know a decent amount of information about, if they had civilizations comparable to our own, we would be able to somewhat tell if they had satellites and they had large industries and they had certain gases in the air and all that. No, we don't see all that. We look at Mars and we can see that Mars has ancient riverbeds, has ancient lakes, has ancient oceans. But we don't see civilization. We see some things that could be construction, pyramid, face, some other buildings, but we don't see any widespread civilizations, the things that would indicate civilization. We don't see roads, transportation pathways. We don't see all that stuff. And any civilization that's going to develop, they're going to have some type of transportation system. It's just not something we see. Say, hey, babe, they all see. But we don't see none of those things. And if a society came to Earth and they conquered Earth, why would they ever give it up? With all the resources on Earth we still have, why would they give it up? I wouldn't. Right, Argentina, I don't know, but about conspiracies, but Argentina wasn't close to where they were fighting either. No, Argentina wasn't close, but what we saw with Argentina is a lot of. I mean, you got to think about it like this: if you were the first people who were leaving, because Germany did have connections with South America, and a lot of the people who were leaving Nazi Germany, especially those who had money, but they weren't down with what was going on, a lot of them left and went to Argentina and Brazil. And then once they lost, a lot of them who wanted to hide went to where those people were, and they were hiding amongst people who looked like them in Argentina and Brazil. I actually used to train this guy. His wife's family, they had money. But then when the Nazis were taking over, they were confiscating a lot of their stuff, a lot of the rich people's stuff, who weren't supporting the Nazis. So her family moved to Brazil prior to the war starting. And, they had been she's technically Brazilian, but if you look at her, she might have a couple black people in their family once here and there, maybe one. But for the most part, they Caucasian, they German. She looks like 95% German. Yeah. But her family had left Germany because they were part of the German, not like higher in the old aristocracy of Germany, but they was in there like a third, fourth cousin. But they left and they went to Brazil. you know, and then he met her in America. But yeah, to look at her and be like, nah, she ain't. She's definitely not Brazilian. She wasn't Brazilian at all. Uh, but a lot of Germans, and she, she told me her family story. They live inside the earth. Uh, to what end? To what end? Like, what's the why? If you are technologically more advanced than anything we got on the planet, why would you live in the earth? Why live in seclusion? Yeah, I hope you were just joking. Why give up your dominance? Those kind of theories don't make sense to me because it serves no purpose. Now, if you were just observing, like we're monkeys in a cage, we lab rats, okay, you're observing. But what's the purpose of your observation if you're from here? Didn't think about the people who, yeah, escaped. Oh yeah, there's actually, and when I lived in Germany, I found out, I knew a lot about that when I lived in Germany. So when I met her a decade or so later, actually 2 decades later, uh, I already had a basis of understanding about how many people just left Germany, and South America was one of the primary places they went. The Americas was a primary place that they went. That Midwest area, that Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin. Uh, what's the other one next to Wisconsin? Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What's next to Wisconsin? But that whole region was heavily populated first by Germans who just left, 100 years prior, like during this Revolutionary War, Civil War time frame. It was already heavily Germans there because they were treated like shit in the colonies, and so they left and went to the Midwest. They started their own towns. That's why you'll still see strong German influences in those areas. But even during World War II, America was concerned about going to war against Germany because they had such a large German population in those areas. And they didn't know which side those people would jump on. Yeah, and we still do have a large German population. Hell, we just went to we have an we have our Oktoberfest in Helen, Georgia, but there's a German Christmas festival in Atlanta right now. While we was in Charlotte visiting my goddaughter, there we went to. They wanted to go to this German festival that they had in Charlotte because they have a large German community in Charlotte. But these people, their families have been there for generations. But even America was afraid to go into World War II initially. Part of that was because of the large German contingent in America. I'm naturally advanced. That's what's up. Grand Rising, Sarah. So therefore, the Jews went to South America instead of concentration camp. Not just Jews. Not just Jews. Jews. A lot of Jews did leave. You'll find Jewish communities in some of the strangest places because they were, you know, some of them don't wait. These people. It's kind of like Katrina. You got the ones who were say like, yo, you know what, this storm is coming. Let me get the hell on. And then you got the ones who's like, nah, I think everything gonna be all right, and then they get screwed over. You had, uh, you know, tens of thousands of German Jews and just regular non-Jewish Germans who left Germany. I don't know the numbers though. That's a curious number. How many Germans left Germany before World War II? See if I can find a quick number on that. There's one estimate that says between 12 to 14 million civilians moved in just a few years out of Germany. And of course, they went all over the place. What was I watching? Me and Angelina was watching something, and I can't remember what island it was, but there was it wasn't huge, but it was like 1,000 Jewish people left Germany before the war and went to a Caribbean island, and they built a Jewish temple and everything. But there was huge migrations. It's just like how we was talking once before. After the Civil War, there were migrations of black people that went to Russia, that went to other European countries, that went to Africa. So some people are wise enough to see the writing on the wall and get the hell on. Like you do realize the majority of people, let's say America, the Trump wins again and the alt right really takes over and they start treating black people like shit and other people of color like shit worse than now. There's a bunch of black people and other people of color who would leave, but the overwhelming majority would stay. Especially if it was like how they were doing it, where it was at a time frame where the police would just come in and just snatch you up and nobody did anything about it. All right, Raquel, appreciate it. Thanks for being here and commenting. Yeah, there's some islands near Antarctica which are not on world map. There's a bunch of islands that's not on world maps. Yeah, and some people didn't have the money to leave. Some people just took what they had and left and with nothing. They had just enough to get the hell on and figured it out when they got there. If something went down in America right now, we sell every goddamn thing, and whatever we got, we out. I wouldn't stay here to figure it out. I wouldn't stay here thinking like, no, no, they're not going to do this. They're not going to put black people in concentration camps, and they're not. Look at how many Japanese Americans probably thought, oh, they won't put us in concentration camp. We're Americans. We've been here, for a generation or two, or we've been here for 20, 30 years. Native American put their ass in concentration camps. Are you of the opinion that the Jews we know of today are related to the Khazars? Depends on which Jews you're talking about. The European Jews, sure. Khazars, um, what's the other? Ashkenazis. Is that Khazar and Ashkenazi same thing? But yeah, remember, Judaism is not a race; it's an adoption of the religion and culture. So it's not a race. Jews come in all different kinds of colors. Yeah. So But who were the Europeans? Who was England going to give control over Israel to? It wasn't going to be Jewish people who of color. No, no. And plus the displacement, the problem that they didn't like the Jews that was in their communities. They didn't like the Caucasian Jews. So of course they got rid of them. And then when they sent them to Palestine, the Jewish people there, brown, you know, they were brown and dark, like caramel and kind of olive tones. Right. There are right. And same with Muslims. Like there are Muslims of all different colors. You know? Because when I went to Mecca, there were Caucasian Jews, there were Asian Jews. I mean, Asian Muslims, Caucasian Muslims, and Black Muslims, and Arab Muslims. There were Muslims of every skin tone, whole rainbow. I wouldn't even say Muslims are not a race. It's a culture and religion. Just like there are Christians of every group. Now we're talking about the people, the oldest variation, the oldest and most common people who were in the Levant. They were brown. They would have been brown, and then as they were trading with other people and being conquered by other people, and other people just moved, the skin tones, you start having more of a variation. So there's not this idea that these group of people were all one thing, not in the Mediterranean. This is why I try to separate the Mediterranean and Mediterranean history from like European history, Levant history, African history, because those people around the Mediterranean communicated and traded and conquered and resettled with each other, all throughout for hundreds, if not, well, for thousands of years. It's like James Baldwin said about going to France was nothing. I made up my mind that nothing they could do to me there could possibly be any worse than I had already went through here in America. Yeah, that was one of the reasons I felt more comfortable and more safe in Germany than I ever have felt in America. I felt more safe in Ivory Coast and Ghana and Kenya and Ethiopia than I ever felt in America. The divine books are religion. Well, the books are religion. Divine, we'll have an argument about that one. I don't think any of these books are divine. Now one of them, not nan. They're only divine because people believe in it. Admiral Byrd saw a lot of what? Admiral Byrd, which I was very disappointed when I learned the truth about Admiral Byrd. Admiral Byrd never went to Antarctica. He went to the Arctic. Excuse me, the Arctic, which is north. He never went south. His journal is a forgery. Sabra Jews. I've never heard of that. That's a new one. See, I like y'all. Y'all be learning me something. I be learning me something. Did I spell that right? Yeah. So a Sabra Jew is a modern day term for any Jew that's born in Israel. Which means it's related to an Arabic word that means patience and perseverance. Also refers to a prickly fruit of the species of cactus. Okay. became a widespread term in the 1930s. Referred to Jews who have been born in Palestine, including the British Mandate of Palestine and the Ottoman Palestine. Learned me a new word. Anybody else knew that one? No. I done been all over this planet, bro, my guy. The South Pole is south, the North Pole is north. The Northern Hemisphere is the Northern Hemisphere. The globe is not upside down. The North Star is the North Star. Yeah, those things about him seeing these animals and stuff were in the diary that was forged. It is not him. He never went to the South Pole. What you missed catch you up to speed. Man, we're an hour and 46 minutes in. I mean, I got two Jose's. So you Sanchez. uh, you know how many of our instrumentations would have to, like, the conspiracy of that would have to be so widespread. It will be too, it's too big. You know, some conspiracies are too big. It's just too big. You know, the globe being flipped upside down. So that means when I was on ship on the Navy, you know, all our compasses are off. When all the compasses in the world are off, the world has agreed to mislabel every compass on the planet. All of them. All the star charts are wrong. Right? Every last one is wrong. And people have just agreed. Every independent scientist, every independent country has just agreed to follow along with this idea of north is really south and south is really north. You would have to get that type of mind share for something that big. You know, for me, the worst conspiracies are the ones that require the most people to be able to pull it off and to control it. Yeah, and for thousands of years. Thousands of years. That means even the ancient star charts, the ancient inscriptions of showing north, south, east, west, they would have to been doing that conspiracy from the Kemetic time frame. The Sumerians would have been doing it. The Norse would have been doing it. The people in ancient Americas would have been doing it. All of them would have to been in agreement from way back then. Yeah, some people do believe that space doesn't exist. Remember they laughed at Pumbaa when he said that his big gases of gas balls burning billions of light years, billions of miles away. And they laughed at Pumbaa. But Pumbaa was right. It's the ancient kings looking down on us in that big black bluish looking thing up there. No, space is not real. I've never been to space, so I can't say I've been there. I plan on going, but I've been decently close. Decently close. If you've ever done if you ever had to do a halo jump, you would know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I remember this guy was trying to tell me that the blue sky is a reflection of the ocean, which I was like, okay, so where are the dark spots? Should we not see dark spots in the sky? Because where are the land masses that would create the dark spots in the sky if it's a reflection of the ocean? Just like somebody tried to say that the moon is a reflection of the Earth. It don't fit. The dark spots on the moon don't fit the land masses. Right. The North Pole faces the North Star. Said Pumbaa had the exact science about it, while Simba had the spiritual aspect of it. I'm gonna say in this instance, Pumbaa had the exact science. Simba had the uh the superstitions. Mike Durkee found an interesting spot at the bottom of the Gulf. The blue sky is a ball. I'm not even. I'm not even because there's no facts about that at all. But what did Mike find? DEGRUY. And you said the Gulf. I'm assuming you mean the Gulf of Mexico. Are you talking about the Deepwater Lake where there's heavy water? There's like heavy water that pushes up to it like a coral on the. I think it's pretty cool because one thing that's kind of stupid for us is that we know more about what's above us than we know what's below us. You know what I mean? We know more about space than we know about the oceans. Which is sad because we really need to understand more about the ocean than we know about space. We need to know more about what's on the planet than what's not on the planet. Yeah, the brine pools. Is there anything that swims in it dies? Yeah. I mean, instead of us trying to figure out like nuclear energy and fission and that sort of thing, because we see the energy that the sun produces, why aren't we trying to figure out more about how separating water molecules create energy? How can we use water as an energy source? We got tons of it, plenty of water. We should be figuring out water as an energy source. We should have figured out, well, we did figure out how to have cars that run on water. But because of greed and money, that system got shelved. And how much a better situation would we be in if just think about that one invention. If water would have been the main source of power for cars and continue to be for trains, how many more things would we be using water power, for? And not just electricity, water that was used at the pyramids. How much more advanced or a cleaner earth, just a cleaner earth. Christianity can fool you, but government agencies can't. Oh no, I believe that government agencies can't, but government agencies can only fool you on certain levels, is what I'm saying. If you're talking about the other conspiracy theory, because you would literally have to go, had to have been changing or the ancient inscriptions, the and all those things to change the situation of the earth and all the stars in order to make that work. It's not something that you can do a conspiracy today. You would have to have started that conspiracy thousands of years ago. But no, I know the government can lie to you. Hell, I participated in some of that lying. So I know it'll lie to you about something. But you can lie about smaller things. You can't lie about, there are certain things that are just too big to lie about. There's too many parts, too many pieces. You got to keep a lie close knit. The more people involved in a lie, the more likely the lie can be found out. All right, if it doesn't make money, they ain't gonna do it. All water is one. Water molecules cannot be separated. Every molecule can be separated. Every molecule can be separated. I mean, just have to. We just never focused on the technology of water. It's just like fission is connecting molecules, connecting atoms to create, and the energy that is released from that. You know, fusion, if I'm getting them right, fusion is separating. If we can separate other atomic structures, why couldn't we separate the atomic structure of water? Why can't we separate what, the from the H2O, separate one of them molecules, separate some of them atoms? Right. Religion never put a satellite in space that lets us have these conversations. No, they didn't. They can't prove that stars are light years away. How not? How are we not proving that stars are light years away? Stars are light years away. It takes, if it takes our sun, if it takes 8 minutes for light to reach Earth from the sun, I think it's 8 minutes, 8 minutes, and you can extrapolate the speed of light. And if you look at the speed of light and it only takes 8 minutes, that's how you can determine the distance from the sun to the Earth. So if we're receiving light from another star and we can see the age of that light, then we know how long it takes for that light to get there. Then we know how far away that star is. Can water molecules be separated? In in thermolysis, this is a word that I'm messing up. I should be able to pronounce this word. Thermolysis. Thermolysis, water molecules split into their atomic components of hydrogen and oxygen. Now it does say that hydrogen bonds hold the molecules together in such a way that more energy than normal is needed to separate them. But no, water can be separated. Wait a minute. Hold on. So water is totally different properties from its constituent elements of hydrogen and oxygen. Physical techniques cannot separate water into its components, that is, hydrogen and oxygen. Its constituents can be separated either by chemical or electrochemical reactions. So it can be done, it's just not easy, basically. So it takes either chemical or electrochemical reactions to separate water. But we can do it. Yeah, so we can separate those. Physics experts questioning the speed of light. Now there are some things that saying that we can't be certain of this 100% certain of the speed of light. No. The basis of our speed of light right now is based on light traveling through a vacuum. But we still can, even though it's not perfect, uh, it is not suggesting that the speed of light is so slow that the distance from stars is a big huge distance difference. Let's see. What they're challenging is that the speed of light is constant. But some of them are saying, suggesting that the speed of light could be much higher. Uh, but as time has went on, the speed of light is slowing down, is slower because it's not in as much of a vacuum anymore, but because of what is traveling through now, which makes sense. I don't know why this is a big deal because it makes logical sense that it would be like your car can go, if your car uses this, you use this much gas and you press on the pedal. If you're pressing on the pedal of your car and there's in our air system, the way our atmosphere is right now, but if you increase gravity or thicken the atmosphere, then to reach that same speed, you would have to use more energy. But if the energy is the same at all times, the same level of pressure on the pedal, but if the atmosphere is thicker, then the car is not going to move as fast. Is the simplest way I can think about this. It's more fact than theory. Sunlight is direct. Rod, are you a flat earther? Yes, every star is a sun. Our sun is just a star. It's just the closest star to us. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one, Stephanie. The Our whole cosmology is taught in schools, and most of it is dependent upon the theory of the speed of light. But the theory is not so unsound that it would justify something like the flat Earth theory that the sun is within the dome or the ball. That it's way closer than what is it, 93 million miles, something like that. The sun is not. Okay, maybe it's 90 million miles, or 89 or 85 million miles, or maybe even 100 million miles. But to suggest that it's only like, if it's inside the dome, I don't even know what they say it is inside the dome, how far it would be. Yeah, see, I don't even really get down with the whole flat earth thing because it's all conspiracy. And it's based on, and most of that conspiracy is based on people reading ancient texts. And then you got ancient text that says, no, the earth is a ball. The earth is not flat. In flat earth theory, how far away is the sun? I want a short answer. I don't want to have to read a whole article. Anywhere from 30 to 5,000 miles away. Now, I know that some bitch ain't 30. Uh, no, but I would not let, I would never let the conversation get thrown into a whole flat earth conversation ever again. That flat earth is about as uh, a circle argument like religion. Not being mean, Raw, but the number of years you study something doesn't mean that you're right. If you study the wrong thing for a lifetime, does that make you right? There are people who were born, studied medicine, and died, and they were wrong. There were people who studied medicine and said that black people didn't feel pain at the same level as everybody else, and they were wrong. But that teachings of eugenics is still with us today, and people studied it their whole life and believed it. But if you're studying something and you already have decided what the answer is, are you studying it? Water doesn't stick to the outside of objects. That's all I say. The sun is infinitely far away. Now that you be the first flat earther I ever heard that said the sun is infinitely far away. Every flat earther I've ever encountered or read their information or seen a video is always talking about it's inside the dome and it's hitting the earth like a flashlight. Right? At 90 degrees is hot. Yeah, if it was inside this dome, we cook like a champ. But then I think they say the sun is much smaller as well. I've always wondered though, if we 98.6 degrees, is it really hot, or have we been conditioned to think it's hot? Well, that's like biology, you know what I'm saying? Like if you were born on this planet, every animal on this planet is conditioned to exist in the environment that it's born in. Humans are the only thing that moves around and adjusts how they can live in different areas. So uh, if we were, let's say life was surviving on Venus, then that life would be accustomed to the temperatures of Venus. If life was on Mars, it would be accustomed to the temperatures of Mars. In the same way, a polar bear is accustomed to the temperatures in the cold regions of the Earth, and elephant is conditioned for the hot areas. It's going to have those adaptabilities to that. The man said the sun is infinitely big also. Then why do we see the ridges, that we see the soul wholeness of it? Yeah, I think infinite, if something was infinitely big, it would take up the whole sky. Like its mass would take the whole sky. It would be like if a person got all the way in your face till they were right here, like right now, my hands are infinitely big because I can't see anything outside of my hands because it's infinitely big from that perception. Yeah, and we fry like a chimney. Like our ecosystem is so sensitive that if the sun decide, if something happened within the sun and it started burning, you know, 20 degrees hotter, it'd melt the earth. We die. You know, if it was, you know, a little bit closer, a little bit farther away, we either die or freeze. What is the estimate that if the earth was, if you suddenly move the earth, it's not a gradual thing, but if you suddenly move the earth like 5 miles away from the sun, the whole planet will freeze over. Okay, I'm not getting into this whole flat earth thing, bro. This I don't do flat earth. Y'all, you not took me as far as I'm willing to go. Yeah, we're in the Goldilocks zone. Yeah, this the habitable zone we're in is perfect for our life, our of the life we have, the life on this planet. Move us any closer, move us any further away. If you do it suddenly, everything dies. If it happens incredibly gradually, like things do, over hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, then yeah, you, no, for everything I've studied about the flat Earth, I don't, you can never convince me that the Earth is flat. The science of flat Earth just don't work. But um, now we are not in the same. The Earth is not in the same position, and the Sun is not the same size that it was, say, 3 billion years ago. You know, they're in different places. This is why earlier when we were saying like the movement of the universe of all the other galaxies and nebulas and stars and all that, none of it is stationary. Nothing is stationary in the universe. Everything is moving, right? And if everything is moving, then our perception of everything looks like it's standing still, but it's not. It's moving. And it would take, uh, you know, hundreds, it would take so many years of observation to identify that. And we do have proof of that. When you look at the ancient Mesoamericans, especially the Aztecs were great at it. Aztecs and Mayans. So let me throw them in there too. Aztecs and Mayans were great at generational observation of the stars and the different movements and places that they uh, were in and have moved to. And when we see their records, it demonstrates that, and it wasn't something that one person can observe through their lifetime. This is like 4 or 5 generations of observation of seeing the pathway, of stars and things like that in the sky. But when you're talking about aliens, the flat earthers are going to have to speak up. You're a flat earther, Stephanie? Because you said us, so I'm thinking that I don't like to assume. I rather ask a question uh, in that one. But no, I don't think. Okay, do I think that there are other other, not humans, but other that there's additional intelligent or even just sentient life in the universe? Of course. Do I think they've been to Earth? Hell no. I don't think any of them been to Earth. No. No. I think Earth has went through cycles of civilizations. Why does this thing come up and says this? I'm about to get rid of this Twitch shit because Twitch keep messing up. But no, we've been just like we've been through cycles of climates. We've been through civilizations that have grown and died, just like we see civilizations in our own time rise and fall because of natural events. Civilizations have risen and fall. They've grown and they've become extinct. And I think what we see are some of those civilizations lived long enough to advance high enough to survive. Like there are only a few naturally occurring events that would destroy our civilization now. We've been around long enough to survive most natural events. Right? Like it would literally have to be an extinction level event. Like if an asteroid does, even if an asteroid the size of Texas was to hit Earth now, some humans are going to survive. Like somebody's going to survive. What type of dystopian civilization would come up out of it? Don't know. But somebody's going to survive. The 1775 Bible shows 13 months, 28 days following the lunar cycle. Have you heard or seen this in the 1775? What is this? I've never heard of a 1775 Bible. (1775) Bible. (1775) King James Bible. I mean, if you went on a lunar calendar, you're going to have pretty much 13 months. Is that what you're talking about? Grand Rising Lisa, by the way. 1775 Bible, 13 months, 28 days. So it's a Enochian calendar. The same calendar describes the geographical book of Enoch. It divides the year into 4 seasons of exactly 13 weeks. Each season consists of two 30-day months followed by one 31-day month with a 31st day ending the season. So the Enochian calendar also consists of 364 days. So there were 2030. I know they had the 360-day calendar, but the problem with those calendars is that the seasons won't match up. This is why we went through different calendars, of the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. Explain the Nibiru, and did Inky and Enlil crew exist? Uh, I think in Nibiru was a made up thing. Inky and Enlil If they existed, they were pre-Earth, pre-Younger Dryas civilization. They from Earth. If they existed, could just be the name that if there was like some Atlanteans, that's just the name that they called them. Right. There's a 360-day lunar calendar. The lunar calendar is 360 days in most societies, and then they have to add some every so often. Every I don't know what number of years they have to add another month. But a solar calendar is 365, which is more accurate for seasons, especially when you're agricultural. If you're agriculturally based, it doesn't really affect us as much today because we're not as agricultural. But yeah, I've seen some videos on it. Right. I don't think the Ethiopian calendar, all those calendars are just what people. You got to think about it. Ethiopian calendar is going to be primarily based on Ethiopia. It's just like you have calendars that don't consist that that correlate more with rainy seasons than they do with winter, spring, summer, and fall. If you don't have a winter, but you have a rainy season, you would care less about it. Your calendar is going to you're going to try to have your calendar fit that because you're agrarian and you need to know how to, it just helps you live and survive. But yeah, the sun is the only thing that's in time with the seasons. November means 9. How is that the 11th month? So when Julius Caesar created his calendar, he added 2 more months to the calendar. He added July for himself. July is for Julius. And then he added August for Augustus Caesar. Now, when he added those, he placed them where it pushed back the months that are numerical. So that's why September meaning 7, but it's the 9th month. October meaning 8, but it's the 10th month. November, 9, but it's the 11th month. December 10, but it's the 12th month. So when he added those 2 months, it pushed it back. And he started his calendar in January 1st. That's why January 1st became the new year. Previous to that, most calendars fit the new year was at the spring equinox because prior to him, the leading calendars of what would become of the Mediterranean history were lunar calendars. But most people, civilizations originally were using lunar calendars instead of solar calendars. But yeah, he just where he inserted them. If he was trying to keep the numerical values equal, he would have. It would go November, December. It would go April, May, June. I'm gonna mess this up. April, May, June, then September, October, November, December, then July and August, and then we would start back in January. But he inserted them in the summer. Beginning of the summer, end of the summer. And you have to notice he's setting them at the beginning and end of the summer for Italy, for the Mediterranean. Not so much, you can give a shit about the rest of the world. Because his world was the Mediterranean. Sometimes March is the first month, sometimes April. But for the most part, in most societies, April would fit the first month. Because most of the time, no, I'm saying that wrong. I think most of the time the spring equinox happens at the end of March. And then sometimes it's in the 1st of April. But most of the time I think it's in March. And so that new year would start was it like 7 or 8 days after the spring equinox? That's why they had April Fools, because they fooled you. I don't know. That's a good one. That's a good one for Angelina right there. Where did April Fools come from? On people origins is unknown. That's too much to read. There's multiple ideas of where it came from. Yeah, there are different origins. That's one of those things that Angelina takes like 2 days to research and find like 50, 11 different origins of where something possibly could have come from, and then narrow it down to like the most likely candidates. Yeah, the only, like I said, Trump, the only reason it became January 1st, because that's when the Julian count, when Julius Caesar said, "I got a new calendar. This is when it's gonna, and we're gonna start it this year." He started it January 1st, and that changed everybody in that Mediterranean idea. Everybody in the Roman Empire followed it, had to follow it. You didn't have a choice. It's not like we do today. It's not like how some states did daylight saving time, some states didn't, and but they would still live within America. When the Roman Empire said this is what we're going to do, you had to do it. You didn't have a choice in it. Thank you for being a new subscriber, Peekaboo. That's when the slaves get picked too. Actually, there often were pretty much New Year's Day sales for slaves. That is something that developed in American culture. I don't know if that was something from Roman culture, but I know it was something for American culture. But that would be interesting to see if that goes back to ancient to Roman times. No, there's no possible way that the Jesus character would have been born December 25th. The Jesus and originally the Jesus character was thought to be, there were some people in the Roman Empire who had him January 6th, and then it got switched to December 25th to coincide with not just Saturnalia. Many people focus just on Saturnalia, uh, because the Romans did want to get rid of Saturnalia, but Saturnalia lasted all the way through to January 6th. But it mainly to coincide with so many other deities whose birthdays were coinciding with the winter solstice, which happened December 25th. So it was moved to that. If you break down the story of Jesus, then he had to have either been born uh, sometime in April or sometime in September. So like for one, in one part of the story, it talks about how the angel Gabriel came to the shepherds who was out in the field that night with their sheep. They're not doing that in December. I've been in Israel in December, January, and February. It's cold as hell. There is no way there are no sheep out there during those months. There are no shepherds outside at night with their sheep during those months. It's too damn cold. They would lose too many sheep to cold. So if they were out in the fields at night with their sheep, it would have been during that time frame. So you read that when Caesar changed the calendar, some folks still celebrated April 1st as the new year. They were being called fools. So I'm pretty sure with that part of this conversation, Angelina will probably research that because that's just how she is. And she will probably on Really Did You Know, her channel Really Did You Know, I'm sure that at some point she will do that one as a video. And when she does it, she'll talk about the different variations. Jesus' birth supposed to have been in the spring. That's what thought because that was when the sun came back. No, well, not. That's why they put the resurrection in April for Easter, because that's when the sun, the daylight starts to it won the battle. So the sun starts winning the battle at the winter solstice. That's why they put his birthday at the winter solstice, Heru's birthday, Dionysus' birthday, Attius' birthday, all these Messiah types, they always put it at the winter solstice because now the sun has been reborn, and now it's defeating the night. It's complete. The completion of the battle happens after the spring solstice. So some people did believe that he was born then, but for the most part, they put it around December 25th because that's when they also felt like now the sun is being out longer, so we went through the winter, we can survive because the sun is starting to stay out longer. Yeah, but no, if he existed, him would have been born more than likely somewhere between. He would have been born somewhere between probably May. Well, April, May, yeah, you might get some sheep out there in May. I mean April, but for the most part, you're gonna start getting them after May. I mean after April. So some may be out there in April, but mostly it's gonna be after April because even in April it's cold, and you got to realize they were inland. Jerusalem, Nazareth, Bethlehem is more inland and it's more hilly, so that it cold. You got to keep the little baby sheep inside at night, and we're talking about at night. What is the average temperature in Israel in April? No, don't give me Tel Aviv because Tel Aviv is near the coast. What is the average temperature in Bethlehem in April? Is this Bethlehem, Israel? Yeah, the temperature drops down to in the 50s. Now they can have highs of 70 instead of 88, and that's today, in our time today. Yeah, winter temperatures go from mid-December to mid-March. And the temperatures can range from 1 to 13 degrees Celsius, which is 33 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Like I said, cold. I know the first time I was in Israel was in February, and during the day it was decent. Like you can have a light jacket on, but at night it's bad enough that it's in the desert. Then it's even worse that that cold water come out, that cold air come off the water. God, that stuff. You have to have that extra jacket. I read the man's name was Yeshua ben Yosef. I translate that to You should have been yourself. You stupid. Lisa crazy. But yeah, the name, if that was his name, it would have been Yeshua ben Joseph, which is Joshua, son of Joseph. So they named their kids mostly son of, and only the sons got that kind of name, but son of their father, or you are Joseph of this town. Don't worry, Dwayne. I'm about to turn in. We're about to call this a night. Oh, it's 10:19. Oh, yeah. Okay. This nighttime, we're going to test out this nighttime on Mondays and Wednesday for a couple of nights, for a couple of weeks, and see how it goes. I'm more digging my morning time, though. But we're going to see how it goes. But so normally we do our weekly lives, our daily lives, well, Monday through Friday lives during the day after 10:30. Tomorrow is What's Wrong with the Bible. We're still in Numbers, and that one is going to tomorrow. Though I got to take Mom to a doctor's appointment, so I probably won't do the live tomorrow until about 1:30. Probably 1:30, more accurately around 1:30. So live tomorrow will be around 1:30 because my mother is more important than you guys. So I'll be taking Mom to a doctor's appointment. Somebody just brought that up the other day. So tomorrow we're going to be a little bit later. No, I haven't read this book, the Eurytia. It looks interesting. It looks like might be a good read. Might have to order this one. Then do a book report on it. So tomorrow around 1 o'clock, 1:30. I know her appointment is at 11. No, she said appointment is at 10:30. Appointment is at 10:30. So I know it's gonna last at least till 11:30. Then I got drops. I pick her up. Then I gotta take her back home after I feed her because she always wants something to eat. And she lives on the other side of town. So if I drop her off around 12:30, yeah, probably around 1:30. Give me enough time I get home. Yeah, give me enough time to get home and collect myself. So tomorrow, What's Wrong with the Bible? Numbers. We are in Numbers, and it is Numbers, the book of Numbers. Book of Numbers, hit the right button. Numbers 16 and 17. So the book of Numbers 16 and 17 is what the live is going to be about tomorrow. I want to thank you guys for sharing all the other videos. And thank you guys for the sharing, and the comments have been great. I've reached the point where I can't read and respond to all of them, so I do my best to respond to some of them. So if I don't respond to a comment, my apologies, but can't get to all of them. Like, especially those videos that might have like 300 comments on them. Can't get all of them. And after a couple of days, I definitely can't get to them. So I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a great day. I'm going to spend the rest of my evening with my honey. So y'all have a great day. And remember, always look at LaQuinn. How does LaQuinn show up late? No matter what time of video. It could be in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening. And he's still late. What's a Christian doing on a page about leaving religion? Trying to save our souls. So y'all have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, always, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is not negotiable. And thank you for the subject matter. I appreciate meeting Dwayne this past weekend. It was pretty cool to meet him. So y'all have a great day, and I will see y'all tomorrow. I am out. Out.